I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. Welcome to the Pleasure Principles podcast. We are answering listener questions today. Your questions about sex and pleasure that you've wanted to know, been too afraid to ask, or maybe even getting conflicting information on Google about. Finding reliable, responsible sex ed information can be a minefield, and many women don't feel comfortable talking to their healthcare providers about their issues when it comes to sex and intimacy. In fact, over 80% of women feel uncomfortable asking their healthcare providers about sexual health. We will be doing this again on the podcast, so if you didn't get your questions answered, stay tuned for our next episode. And if you have questions, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram at Dr. Jordin Wiggins. You can submit any questions you'd like answered on the podcast to me directly, or email them to info@thepleasurecollective.com. So let's get into it. The first question: my husband and I haven't had sex in months, and I'm really nervous about it. I'm always too tired or find excuses by the end of the day to avoid it. How can I build intimacy throughout the day so that I actually want to do it? This is a question or a common complaint. We're so busy, we feel so disconnected and so exhausted by the end of the day that nobody really feels like being intimate. And foreplay is not just the 5 to 10 minutes of kissing and maybe oral before a penis goes into a vagina. I talk about this a lot in my book, The Pink Canary, if you want more information there. I am willing to bet if you haven't had sex in months and it feels overwhelming, you're probably feeling overwhelmed in many other areas of your life. So the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And if we've got like stress and overwhelm in life, that's probably also how we're approaching things in the bedroom. And I've worked with thousands of women at this point. So, and that definitely seems to be the pattern. What you can do is carve out time. Sex does not have to be spontaneous to be sexy. If you really think about it, the spontaneous sex we had at the beginning of our relationships that we romanticize or we so fondly think back to. Don't get me wrong, I love the NRE, the new relationship energy. But all of that was very orchestrated. It was very planned. We planned the dates. We picked out what shoes we were going to wear. We got excited to see each other. We texted throughout the day. We got ready. Like we made the time, the space, the anticipation. So foreplay was really starting hours before the sex did in those times that we so fondly think back to. So we want to kind of stoke the fire, or I often say that women are like a pot. Most women are like a pot that needs to boil. So we need to turn it on and wait for our desire for our turn on to like bubble over. So how do we kind of like keep that pot warm throughout the day? Here's some ideas for foreplay. So a to-do list. Do you have a hard time not thinking about the things that you need to do? The laundry that needs to get done, which makes me realize that I have a load that I forgot to put in the dryer from this morning. Make a list for yourself before you are getting intimate. of all the things that need to get done so you can get it out of your head and down on paper. This helps a lot of us feel much less overwhelmed and makes it more possible for us to be present in the moment while we're being intimate. You can also pamper yourself. What feels good? What do you need to feel relaxed? A nice bath to unwind, maybe spend some time putting on your favorite lotion. I always say that a new piece of lingerie isn't going to fix your sex life, but as a part of a routine and something that makes you feel good, something that when you put on, it helps you transition from like mom brain or CEO brain into time for intimacy brain, that helps. That's going to help your turn on. Anything that makes you relax and feel more present is a win in this case. And we want to remember our desire, our turn on is in part our responsibility. If we are looking to our partners to take us from dry and crusty to that pot that's like bubbling, it's not really fair to put on them. We need to learn what we need to do to get ourselves there. And my third tip is sexting. I know this makes some people nervous, but little flirty messages throughout the day can really build the anticipation and excitement, which, let's be honest, is half of the fun. And these don't need to be explicit, raunchy texts. They can be, like suggestive. I can't wait to see you later. Thinking about taking off your clothes later. I can't wait to make you feel good later. It doesn't need to be super, super explicit. If you don't want it to, if you do, definitely all for it between two consenting parties. Okay, next question. My life is stuck. If I get the tools to fix one area, will that flow into fixing the rest? This is something I hear so often from the women that I work with. And libido is just one piece of the puzzle. When you feel overwhelmed in other areas of your life, libido can feel like the last priority on your list when wanting to get and feel better. The term I use to describe feeling stuck, exhausted, overwhelmed is feminine burnout. The kind of burnout that affects high-functioning, overachieving women in particular. Women that are in charge of the house and at work, their businesses, they do everything for everyone. You look like you have it together on the outside, but you feel like a hot mess on the inside. You're lonely, often pretty sad, and you feel like you're not worthy or special enough to feel better. Feeling stuck has become your new normal, but as I always say, everything comes when you learn how to receive money, time, orgasms, praise, rest, energy. When we're living in overdrive, we aren't making any space for the good stuff, for the ease and flow and the kindness we deserve to receive. So yes, the key is learning to receive, uncovering your desires and trusting deeply and fully that you are worthy of all the good that is coming your way. These are high-level concepts that I teach in my program, the Feminine Mentorship, because they take a lot of work to uncover and undo the old patterns and conditioning that keeps us stuck. But yes, it is possible and I can help. I love to use pleasure and desire as tools to get unstuck, and not just in the bedroom, pleasure and desire in our whole lives, because if we can go about fixing these things with joy and fun, and more orgasms, it's definitely a lot easier for you, for me, and for everyone involved. You can also check out my podcast episode on momentum, and we will link it in the show notes because using pleasure and joy to get us in momentum in the right direction, get us out of those well-worn ruts. There's a little more information there. You might not even know what you're missing, but if you've been searching for answers for why you're so successful in your career, but lacking in other areas, why your libido's low, why you feel so burnt out, overworked, why you're snappy and irritated all the time, why you can't lose the weight you want to lose, why you're exhausted but you can't sleep at night. You take care and run the show at work and at home, but you can't figure out how to take care of yourself the way you want to. You are in the right place. Maybe your relationship is on the brink of divorce, or you're missing the days of connection and intimacy that you once had. If you long for the spark and connection and you want to feel like yourself again, that radiant, turned on woman, then I have the solution for you. Work with me, Dr. Jordin Wiggins, naturopathic doctor, sex educator, and feminine burnout coach, in my executive one-on-one coaching program to learn how to receive pleasure for better sex, better health, and more wealth. I promise you, they are all connected. I work with women to teach them how to receive pleasure and to open to all of the possibilities that this life has to offer you in health, wealth, and love, because you deserve success across the board in your life. Finally, find the secret that was missing from all the work that you've done before and understand why you are so successful at work, but lack the spark and connection you long for in your relationships. When you learn how to receive pleasure and learn what was holding you back, you unlock possibilities in every area of your life. Suddenly, you can receive compliments, trust, acceptance, friendships, money. You know how to take better care of yourself, and you receive the praise, acknowledgement, help, and support that you've always wanted, but didn't know how to get. Everything comes when you learn how to receive and adopt a pleasure mindset as a way of being. My executive coaching program gives you exclusive access to me in person or via video chat, and my years of experience of working with thousands of women, Eastern medicine theories, and practical everyday ways to apply the work to see real growth in your life and relationships. Get the support you need to repair your relationships, start having mind-blowing sex, and open to the possibilities of what great pleasure means to you. Revolutionize your relationships and build the abundant future that you, your relationships, and your loved ones deserve. Click the link in the show notes or visit my page on Instagram at Dr. Jordin Wiggins to learn more about my coaching packages. Next question, some tips for someone who has never had an orgasm. My first tip is that you need to truly believe that amazing orgasms are real and possible for you. I've worked with many women who have had such negative experience with sex and orgasm that they've started to believe that mind-blowing orgasms, extended orgasms, multiple orgasms are just a myth that other women make up or exaggerate. But I am telling you, it is possible, and you need to believe that you are capable and worthy. Orgasms can be difficult because they are the kind of thing that the harder you try, the more you try and force things, the more elusive they become, the further away from achieving an orgasm you actually are by trying to achieve an orgasm. You cannot reach orgasms by checking off a list of items. And this is how many of the women that I work with do things and they approach life is they're all in, they're on, they're the fixers, they have massive lists. And I feel like the more lists we have, then the less amazing our orgasms and sex actually is. I'll explain why. Anyone who tells you that they've developed 5 steps to orgasm isn't really treating the root, and other people telling you to look at your vulva with the mirror, which is a great practice that I recommend for self-love and acceptance of your vulva, is not going to fix your difficulty reaching orgasm. Not being able to orgasm is just the tip of the iceberg. There are many factors under the surface that you need to discover which ones are impacting you and getting in your way of achieving the big O. So, have you worked with a pelvic floor physiotherapist to rule out any anatomical or structural factors? Also, guilt and shame can be huge blocks to achieving orgasm. If you were taught that sex was wrong or dirty or immoral, those messages can really impact your ability to surrender. Trauma or past negative experiences might need to be addressed and unpacked with a trusted mental health professional. Body image, that's another huge one. If we are thinking about the way we look, if we're worried about taking too long, if we're thinking about anything other than being present in the moment and feeling good, this is going to impact our ability to relax, open, and receive enough to have an orgasm. My best advice is to start with what feels good and to start exploring your deeper held beliefs about sex and pleasure. It's different for everyone, and that is why there is not one simple quick fix or answer. There's no 5-step process that will work because everyone is unique. For more tips on orgasm, you can listen to episode 45 of the Pleasure Principles podcast, Why Expanding Pleasure Leads to Better Orgasms. Someone else asked, I have some desires that I think my partner might find strange or kinky. How do I approach this? Sex can be an awkward and intimidating experience for everyone. Being honest about how and what you're feeling is always the right thing to do. Tell your partner that you feel a little shy, maybe embarrassed or uncomfortable about the conversation, but it's a really important one for you to have. I think introducing conversations around fantasy by asking your partner what they would like to try and share yours as well. It's always best if we could be specific, provide examples, maybe share content like a video or a podcast or like erotica, like a novel, or audio erotica like Dipsy is a great way of introducing the topic in kind of a confrontational way, and several of the women that I work with have had success doing this. Another thing you can do is tell your partner how these things make you feel. Many people find pleasure in making their partner feel good. So by expressing how these things would be hot for you, they would turn you on if you engaged in said activity, your partner might be excited about giving you something you desire and the pleasure that it will bring you. It's also important to give some time for processing and not expect an immediate response. Be willing to offer a little room for your partner to have their own thoughts and feelings about it. But it's important to be mindful that if your partner cannot get over the first initial reaction or shock, judgment, and continues to be shamey or judgmental about your desires, it could be a sign of a bigger red flag. After all, you can't fully feel safe with someone who isn't open to learning and exploring with you. And it is important to give them that initial break because we have been conditioned by society to think that sex is only acceptable if it's done in certain ways, in certain contexts, which isn't right either. But we want two people to be open to hearing each other out and exploring. It's also important to respect each other's no. It's possible that your kink is a no-go for your partner, and that's okay. We can respectfully decline without judgment. And remember, kink is relative. What's kinky to you may not be so kinky to someone else, and all that really matters is that everyone is consenting and enjoying the experience of giving and receiving pleasure. And our last question for today's episode, I don't even know what I want in the bedroom. Where do I start? Uncovering desires is a big part of the work that I do in Pleasure Principles. We have been taught to worry more about what other people want, about performing in the bedroom, than what we want and desire and what turns us on. So many of the women that I work with do not even know where to start with this. And the framework that we provide in Pleasure Principles provides a safe space for us to explore, talk with other women, and really uncover what our true desires are. And that really shifts things, not only for our experience, but for our partner's experience when we can both know what we want, know how to ask for it, and enjoy things that we are doing both in and out of the bedroom. Because like I said, the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So if we start uncovering desires in the bedroom, we are also going to start uncovering desires in life. And that is how we shift things and make leaps to have you a more happy, fulfilled, energetic you. For more information about improving your sex life, building better intimacy and connection in your relationships, join me in the Pleasure Principles, my hybrid self-study and coaching program that takes you through modules important to building the foundation for better sex, from desires to communication to feeling worthy and understanding how stress is impacting your body and your libido. Apply to join by visiting www.thepleasurecollective.com/the pleasure principles. Have a great week, everybody.
If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.